that. Now what do we do about a pipe? If you got, say, a floor drain, a clean out, how do we do it? So typically they don't make a perfect hole for us. It's a big gap. So what do? If we've got a big concrete deck that we're working into and you see nothing but daylight, get some nice big backer rod. Pack it all the way around there, then fill it with the sealant like we've done there. But then how do we take a piece of fabric and make it work around this? Kind of tough, right? Well, that's why we take our fabric and we measure it to the right size, which we've done here. And we folded it to 2 inches, but we've cut little slots all the way around so it will fold and roll around there nicely. So here we go. So then we take our fabric. You can start right here. We want to put those folds right at the crease of those folds right at the bottom. So once we get that in there, tucked in nice. To change phones for some reason, it's too hot here in California for the phones to record video. So that's not me complaining, although I am complaining. It is too hot out here. But so we take our fabric, we roll it the rest of the way around on top there. Once again, we make sure we get these all the way down at the bottom and just make sure we have a nice tight seal. If anybody is doing the ACT on membrane, so we need to just simply look and see what the manufacturer is requiring and dry times and things like that. So if they call for a membrane and then we let it dry, you put on the fabric. So you put down your liquid membrane, you put in your fabric, you embed that, you let that dry. Then they want you to coat it again, let that dry, and then you're going to add again when we add the main field of fabric. So those are all the times you're going to keep adding material. So we have our fabric done in here, we have our fabric done there, so now we need to let it dry. Okay, so now what do? Our field is done. We've already got 2 coats on this. We got our fabric done around our drain. So how do we take our fabric and lay our fabric in the field? So here I've got some fabric for the field. So typically, if this was a large bathroom, we'd be using a large roll, like a 38-inch wide roll. So it's 36 inches with a 2-inch overlap. So if we were coming in here, we'd want to put our field fabric all the way to overlap this both directions. So we can do that. We can kind of make a little bit of a mark here. That's where that fabric's going to go. Now this one would be our next sheet here. We'd want 2 inches of overlap. Of course, we wouldn't be doing it with this small of a roll on a whole field with fabric, but just for sake of argument, we're going to pretend that this is our 38-inch rolls and we're doing a whole big floor here. So we've got our fabric. Now we put down our liquid again. Once again, the same thickness we need. We want to make sure you overlap where you're going to put your fabric. So we get enough material down. And we're giving all of this one more coat because that's what the manufacturer is calling for. So here we go. We got our 30 mils down. We've got that. Now we take our fabric. You want it all the way in the corner. We're a little short before you lay the whole thing in. That's the time to readjust. Now we embed it, right? Take the time to embed that. Make sure we get that moisture from the bottom layer of liquid coming through. That's why it's so important that we have enough down. If we don't have enough down, it's just going to absorb through. It's going to leave us a hollow spot underneath. So we've got that one down. I know where my next roll is going to end up at. So I'm going to put some more membrane down to here to overlap. And a lot of times I'll just mark it with a Sharpie marker or a chalk line on the floor, something like that, to control where I'm rolling at. So typically I'd be using, a larger roller than this, but something like this, and rolling a big area of floor. So once I have that area done, come back, take my fabric, make sure I get my 2-inch overlap, make sure I'm all the way up to that intersection there, embed it a little bit with your fingers, something like that, come back, and we would add more liquid to the top. So once we have our fabric, so if our inspector on the job, if it's a commercial job and they're requiring full field fabric and at changes of plane, this is what you're going to need to do. So we're going to do this. We have a nice 30 mil thickness on all of this. So we would let this dry, and then we would still come over this again with one more coat, and then make sure once that's done, check it for bubbles, air holes, any pockets like that, touch those up. Then we're ready to go for our flood test. Same thing here, we just take our sheet of fabric, we'd pre-cut a nice hole around this, maybe a nice square like this, and then just embed this right over the top of that to close those holes. And that's how we would seal that up. If we have any question, once this is all dry, we could come back maybe with a little bit of urethane caulking around that just to seal right where those two seams are meeting at. So that's how we do this.